Hi, welcome to Life Skills with Louie. I'm Louie. Today we're talking about a form of cognitive restructuring, what I call accuracy restructuring. If you haven't watched the introduction to mindfulness of current thoughts and cognitive restructuring in general, I encourage you to watch that. And also there are two introductions within this section, Getting to Great, one at the beginning and one that is talking about once you've mapped your experience, how to respond. And I encourage you to watch both of those. And finally, there is an introduction to the entire video series, so you understand each of the sections and when to use them, and I encourage you to watch that. So let's dive right into what I call accuracy restructuring. Restructuring one's thoughts is something that is very doable and can have massive benefits. And accuracy restructuring is, I'm using those words to describe it, but really it comes from cognitive behavioral therapy, which has been around for a long time now and is incredibly effective. And so there's a few things to say about accuracy restructuring before I put up this little handout that I have. The first thing is the mind is not automatically accurate. It makes a lot of assumptions. And those assumptions can cause us suffering and stress. And the more that you notice those and work on becoming more accurate in your thinking, the clearer you are likely to think and the less emotional roller coaster experience you're going to have on a daily basis. So improving the accuracy of your thinking is a really helpful task. To this end, there is a lot of material online about cognitive restructuring. And the key first part of it, which you can find tons of handouts on, is that we have what are called cognitive distortions. We have ways of thinking that commonly happen that we can become aware of and notice. I've put on this page common distortions. There are 10 in this map. There are different ways of doing it, but I think I wanted to briefly mention them. And then again, I really encourage you to look this up and study this more online. All or nothing thinking is a common way of distorting, where the mind will think that everything has to be just one way. Usually the world is actually like a spectrum. It has lots of grays and it's complex, but there's a very clear way that the mind will say it's either this or it's this. And that's something you can start to notice and work on. Overgeneralizing. So you have one thing that happens and then your mind puts it into everything. This happens, so everything is this way. Very common overgeneralization. Having a mental filter where everything that you see, your mind puts through a filter that is biased in one way or another. Bias would be another way to say that. Disqualifying the positive is sort of a subset of mental filter where you are biased towards the negative in life, the things that are not going well, and you miss the positive things. You could do it the other way too, disqualifying the negative if you sort of tend to be too positive. Jumping to conclusions. The mind is made to do this, but it doesn't always work well. So the mind will have a piece of data, a fact come in, and then it will say, oh, this means this. And you can become more and more aware of the ways in which your mind jumps to conclusions. Magnification and minimization, where you can notice how your mind will take something and magnify it, make it larger than it is in the scope of things, or minimize it and make it smaller than it is, which is, I think, related to things like mental filter and disqualifying the positive. Emotional reasoning, where you have an emotion and then your mind creates a story that is related to that emotion. So you're feeling very sad, and so then your mind starts thinking about all the possible sad things in the world and the ways in which, oh, this is actually sad and this is sad. But really, you are having that reasoning and logic based on the emotion you're feeling. Should, must, and ought are expectations put on you by your mind, which usually relate to the rules, your idea of the rules of society or the way one should be. And that puts a lot of pressure and is not actually the most effective way to think in regards to change needs to happen. Sometimes people want different things. There can be actions that are hurtful, but shoulds, musts, and ought to just place an unnecessary burden. Labeling. So calling something just this one thing. Oh, this is that. Is at the least only getting a small picture of the large totality. Everything is complex and has depth to it. But at the worst, can really cause a lot of harm to yourself or others. You might label yourself as this, that, or the other thing, label someone else as this, that, or the other thing. And it really misses a lot. And finally, personalization. The mind has a large tendency to take events and things that happen and put them directly upon your experience as if it's about you or related to you or directly affecting you, even though that may not be the case. So just becoming more aware of these distortions in and of itself can create restructuring, because your mind, once it realizes, oh, I'm doing this, it can become curious and then naturally change and look for more information. A few key way to respond to these distortions, checking the facts. So actually looking for data of what is really happening in this present moment, is a key skill. There's a lot of information about this online as well, of different ways of restructuring distortions. But these three seem like key ones I wanted to mention. So checking the facts, examining evidence like a scientist. So really becoming a scientific thinker and saying, okay, well, I have this thought. Let me go out and search. So instead of just like checking the facts of the moment, I'm going to go out and search for data from other people, from situations. I'm going to research. And as you examine evidence and examine larger amounts of facts, you can come to different conclusions and really understand the situation with much more depth. And finally, looking for double standards. Like a key one with this is many people treat themselves really poorly, but then they have friends and family that they love that they would never treat that way. And so these ways in which there's this dissonance that I will treat this person this way, but then not, and I'll treat myself this horrible way. That's actually not fair. Like, why will I not treat myself the same as I will treat other people that I care about? Finally, the thing I want to say with accuracy restructuring, this is not trying to paste positive on quote unquote negative. This is about just becoming more connected with reality and what's happening and facts of the moment. And it's not that it's going to necessarily make you like super happy because everything is wonderful. It just helps your mind to sharpen and focus and become more accurate about the situation that you're in. Thank you.